Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. My name is Kyle and this is my Pontiac Fiero that is completely torn apart. If you guys do not know, I'm doing a series on my channel where I'm swapping this 3800 into my Fiero. In the first few episodes, we went through this 3800 and got it looking nice and ready for the car. And in the last episode, we got the entire old drivetrain out of the Fiero. So what I want to do today is get the 3800 mounted to the Getrag and onto the cradle. So we need to get the old 2.8 off so we can clean up this cradle and get it ready for our new engine. So taking off the engine and trans from the cradle on these cars is actually really easy. You have your motor mounts, obviously. There's one here. There's a little strut right here. There's one in the front. And there's one more right here on this side of the transmission. There's that. There is the axles. You need to take those out with your two axle nuts. And you have to separate the exhaust right here at the downpipe. But then after that, this whole thing can lift straight off of the cradle. First things first, let's get this exhaust off. Now, is it gonna come off in one piece? I do not know, but maybe. Look at that. One down, one to go. Dang, that came off really easy. So I've got this engine out 3 times, and both the other times when I've had to separate this, I've had at least one bolt break, so that's pretty surprising. Starting on our motor mounts, I'm gonna go with this one first. This one's a little annoying to get to sometimes because of how tight this is, and some people go from the bottom. However, I like to use a ratcheting wrench, and that allows me to get in here nice, and I can get some movement, and it might take a little longer, but it comes right out. Okay, this is taking forever. Yay! These motor mount nuts in here are 15 millimeters. They're pretty easy to get to. What tight, holy crap. There we go. Oh boy. The ratchet's stuck. What the heck? When I've been driving my car, I have had a few vibrations and it felt almost like there was a bad motor mount or bad bushing. But look at this. When I try and lift it off, the whole engine is moving. And if you look in here, this bolt is loose and is causing this entire motor mount arm to move. That's not good. All right, last motor mount is disconnected. So to remove these axles, it's actually a lot easier to remove this tie rod, and then you can get the entire strut assembly out of the way, and it gives you a little more range to be able to pop this axle right out. Let's see, can I use the hammer and get it out? Nope. Hey, look at that. Now, should be able to just pop this thing right out the back, like so. Bam. There's one axle down. We have one more to go. Yay! We can lift the engine off the cradle. High five. Let's see what we can do with this thing. Well, we have the engine off, so that's cool. It actually came off pretty smooth. I just have it sitting on a tire right now. I think it'll be easy to pull the trans off of here now, but here's the cradle. We need to take the exhaust off of here because we're not going to be using that. And I just want to clean this thing up. Believe it or not, I painted this 2 years ago, but it is so covered in grease and junk that you can't even tell. But we are making good progress, so I'm just going to keep on going. Okay, I have all of the bell housing bolts out except for one, and I have that one just in there finger tight. The trans is loose. Probably hard to see, but there's a big old gap and it's moving a little bit. So what I'm doing now is I lifted the engine up a little bit and repositioned it. And I have my jack here to support the transmission. And I'm just going to try and yank this thing straight out. Last bell housing bolt is out. And wish me luck. Let's see if this goes smooth. All right, the gap's getting bigger. I'm going to lift up the engine. And you can see the trans is literally just falling right out. So that's good. It's hard because since I'm not taking over the crossover pipe, which is the right way to do this, I have to get the transmission off and then have it drop down so I can have it clear that. And it's already doing that because I got the last bell housing bolt out, because with the trans fully installed, you can't take that out because it hits the crossover, but this might actually just fall right out how it is. And we are free. Let's see if I can put this thing on the ground by myself. Trans is removed. So with our trans off, we can go ahead and take the 3800 off of the engine stand, which is really exciting. Let's go ahead and get our flex plate off. All right, since I'm doing a manual, I took off the flex plate and now I'm going to install my flywheel and clutch. For my flywheel, I have it right here. This is a Fiero Raj flywheel for the 3800. Spec also makes a flywheel, and you can also get like a Camaro or a Firebird flywheel and have it milled down. But Fiero Raj makes a ready-to-go flywheel, so that's what I ended up going with. And with the Fiero Raj flywheel, he includes this paper, which has the part numbers for the flywheel and pressure plate bolts. You can read it right here. This has the part numbers on it, and those are these right here. They're all ARP. Here are the pressure plate bolts right here. For the flywheel bolts, he recommends the 134-1001 part number, and those will work. Or if you want stronger ones, you can go with 234-1001, which are the same exact bolt, they're just a little stronger. And moving on, for our clutch, I am going with Spec, and this is their 3+ clutch. You can see there's the part number right down here, SC883F. Now, this is a good clutch for normal driving, which is perfect for what I need. I'm not doing any racing or anything with my car, so this is going to be perfect for me. Okay, let's install our flywheel. Now, the flywheel, as it states on here, is only installed in one orientation, and that means that the bolts only line up going a certain way. And it's like that. And for everyone saying, why aren't you doing a rear main seal? The one in here looks like it's already been replaced and it doesn't leak. So I'm not gonna mess with it. I'm putting a little bit of Loctite on these, and I'm just tightening them by hand first, and then I'm gonna go back over them with the torque wrench. We're gonna torque these down to 19 foot-pounds. All right, with the flywheel on and torqued, we can put on our clutch. Got the alignment tool here. It's labeled flywheel side on here. So this can go on just like that. Now we can put on our pressure plate. And the pressure plate bolts are going to get torqued to 25 foot-pounds. All right, and now the best part. Let's get our transmission installed. All right, everybody, look at this. The transmission is mated to the engine and we have it all set onto the cradle. It actually went pretty smooth. I had my dad help me out a bit because it's a little too heavy for me to just pick up by myself. But yeah, it is all on and that is awesome. One weird thing that did happen is that this bell housing bolt, the engine has no threads in there for the bolt to go into. So that was weird. But other than that, everything went right on. The Fiero rod mounts dropped right into place and everything is sitting completely on the cradle. I need to tighten down the motor mounts still, and I need to reinstall the axles and the tie rods. But other than that, it's sitting on the cradle. Now I'm going to install my heat shield onto my rear manifold. This is kind of one that I hodgepodge together since my engine came out of a Buick. It had this small heat shield on the bottom and this kind of angled one right here. But I didn't really like that because with this being the firewall of the car, I wanted there to be a heat shield. So I got this one from a junkyard, and since it was off of a Grand Prix, I believe, my engine did not have the right brackets and stuff to bolt it to, and I didn't think of grabbing it. So I ended up just bolting this one together, and I can kind of slide it in here and it sits pretty flush and sits nice and tight in there once it's all bolted up. So I think that's going to be fine. Before I put the engine in the car, I want to run the wiring harness. I don't know if I'm going to install it with the harness on, but I know I want to at least test fit the harness to see where everything lines up. Now, for the harness, I have this right here, which is a brand new wiring harness for a 3800 swap into a Fiero. Now, you can go and make your own wiring harness, although it is probably the toughest part of this entire swap. There is diagrams online for what you have to depin and move around to combine the Fiero and the 3800 harness. But at the end of the day, you're going to be reusing connectors and reusing old wiring in your swap. I did not want to do that. A, because I did not want to do the wiring because that sounds terrible. And I did not want to reuse old wiring. And I also did not even have a wiring harness or computer when I bought my engine. So I went with a harness made by James Brown. He makes brand new 3800 harnesses with all brand new wiring, all brand new connectors. And I was even able to buy a computer from him as well. So out of the box, I have the harness kind of spread out here, and you can see how neat everything is and put together. Now this is made for a 3800 with a 5-speed. It is made for my exact swap, so it should make this extremely easy. And it has all brand new plugs, new C500, new everything. I think that this should make the entire wiring process really easy. So if you are doing a 3800 swap in your car, I highly recommend using a James Brown harness. All right, guys, I have the harness laid out just really rough right now. You can see it's hanging over the back here. This is the C500 that goes to this side of the car. I have it connected to the ignition harness over here. And this is what goes inside of the car. And everything is plugging in really nicely. So I'm going through and securing some of these wires, and then we're going to test fit it into the car. Well, everyone, the engine is in. We have hit a huge milestone, but we can't get ahead of ourselves because we still have everything to hook up. We have all of the wiring, all of the tubing, all of the lines, the exhaust, the intake, absolutely everything. But this is a huge achievement, and it is super cool to see this thing in the car. And I think that is a good place to end this episode. In the next episode, we are going to focus on hooking up everything onto this 3.8 and see how far we can get. So thank you all for watching this episode of my engine swap series, and I hope to see you in the next one. See you later.